Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the DeAI Dispatch. Today, I have with me Jiahao Sun, who's the founder of Flock. For those who are unaware, Flock is building the first decentralized AI training platform. And today, we're going to dive deeper into what Flock is, how does it work, explore more about the opportunities that this new technology presents, and how it solves the challenges that the world is facing. When it comes to centralized alternatives like OpenAI or Google. And so, with that, I'm super excited, Jao. Thank you so much for taking the time out and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Rohit and Vip. Hi.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's start.
Yeah.
Yes, let's start from the very top. My first question to you is, Jiao, before we talk about Flock, tell me about the man behind the Flock, man. I mean, walk me through your early life, a bit about your history and background. What did you do? Everything that you did before Flock came.
Yeah,
Tell me
yeah.
each and every.
So right after school, I studied computer science back in Oxford. Back in old days, the traditional AI hype time, I think, like the 2014-ish. That's where I think deep learning becomes super popular, and AlphaGo came out, and then playing Go with human players, right? And then yeah, so surprisingly, the first job out of school is to become a CEO because at that time there's different incubators. They don't even need you to have any idea. They just, wow, you guys are smart. AI, yes, like go fund a company. We'll pay you. We will give you allowance monthly, and then we'll find you investors. So yeah, that was actually my my first experience into the career world. And at that time we were doing fintech, finance. Innovations with AI to help credit scoring, to help ad tech, all of this. And then, yeah, so that was literally my first startup experience. And that went well. And then I was headhunted to Royal Bank of Canada, becoming their head of AI,
Hmm.
especially for applications and researches in the domain of wealth management and how to read the world information basically in AI's eyes, and then turn that into signals or turn that into actionable next to our internal advisors and everything. So I would say I've been through several very interesting narrative shifts in traditional AI already, right? During the prime time around 2020-ish, I think everyone was talking about knowledge graphs in traditional AI because
Hmm.
everyone was thinking about that's gonna eat the whole world because if you have a graph that can represent everything from informatics perspective, right? Then you will have the causality of everything. But then, well, there's a big thing that in order to create the best graph of the world, you need to have the best quality of the data in the world, right? And then at that time, we just realized this whole data market, is basically just dominated by players like Bloomberg, right? They probably won't be the only one who can create a knowledge graph because of the data they can acquire. And then for anyone else, it's quite hard. Like different banks, they don't share data between each other. Even within the same bank, different desks, they cannot share data between each other because there are regulations, right? So there's no way that a single machine can just get everything and then create something like a graph can help you do everything. And then suddenly in 2023 to 22, right, the GPT hype comes, and then that hype of the graph somehow, as far as I can see, it totally faded out, and everyone just now talking about knowledge graphs. The logic behind it is, okay, if we can just put whatever data, dump them all into one language model, then why don't we care about the knowledge graph behind it? It's fine, right? As long as that machine can answer my question already, then I don't need to worry about the causality. He actually realized back to the 10 years ago when deep learning came out, the statistics, equations, formula, statistics, all behind it becomes less important. It's not important. It's super important, of course. The whole mathematics holds around this, right? But the thing is, So people starting to less think about, the data science behind all the data and why the distribution looks like this and everything, because they know that if I put every data into a neural network and it will give the result, and the result is all I need. So it's just the same scenario like back in 10 years ago, where there are a bunch of statistics trying to research all the formulas behind all the data and equations, where there's another bunch of people who just believe, okay, we just put everything in and then the machine will learn itself. And similarly here. So yeah, so I'll say like, yeah, I've seen several, this dynamic shifts in AI already, and then I think in the future there will be new shifts as well, like the new developments always, right? We need to adapt quickly to the new technology. Yeah.
So what
Incredible.
was the
Wow.
primary motivation behind creating Flock? And
Yeah,
how does it
that's
address? Yeah, I'll move on to the next question. Okay, so how does it address the limitation of centralized AI training? Like you just
I
talked
think
about
that's
centralized AI training, and yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly the backstory about it, right? The data issue, right? There's only one monopoly who can actually train a graph neural network because of the acquisition of the data. And for other companies, they want, but then there's data silo issues, around the whole industry, not
yeah.
only finance, right? Healthcare, anywhere else. As long as they figure the data itself has the privacy concerns, then it's basically hard for those data to be collaboratively shared between or for any purpose before Flock, right? So that's why we thought of using Flock. So as Rohit maybe already know, I heard him explain this already. So federated learning, right? So it's a technology like Google brought up in 2017, and it's being popular and being deployed in many live cases. Like now phones, they all use federated learning to predict your typing habits, to push you notifications or advertisements, which you don't like. But yeah, so all this is trained in a local fashion already, but the only difference is for Google's federated learning or Apple's federated learning is all controlled by them, right? It's like if they are having some backdoors behind all the data and everything that they can, because there's no way to prevent them from doing that. And because of this, for example, in healthcare industry, there are also many federated learning healthcare tech companies already. But because of these backdoor concerns, still, there are popular tech companies in one country, but they never are able to get deals from another country because of this, regulatory concerns of, possibility of the supernode to actually admin everything. That's why we added blockchain in. So there's no supernode. There's nothing like Google, Apple under a whole federal learning facilitation. It's all by the on-chain governance and consensus. So in that sense, Flock as a company, we just provide the whole tech kit, and then the users can just deploy their own models, deploy their own training tasks based on the framework, and then to align with the whole training community. On that sense, like we're like a PyTorch in Web3, right? So PyTorch is built by Meta, but nobody would say like, oh, if I'm using PyTorch, I'm actually contracting with Meta. That's fine, right? It's open source, right?
Right.
So the only difference Flock and PyTorch maybe is we have a wallet that you have to provide to staking to train. That's the mechanism on chain to prevent people from being evil, poisonous the data or whatever, right? That's what we actually publish papers on top conference journals to talk about how this can be effectively and openly permissionless way for people to train. Yeah, so
Let's go deeper into this. Like, can you
yeah.
explain how Flock's federal learning approach works
Mm.
in conjunction with blockchain?
Yeah. So the training basically training happens similarly as traditional federated learning cases, right? So you don't send users data to any central node, third-party API, OpenAI, whatever, right? Everything stays on your local device. And then it's actually the local model to be downloaded into your local device to make the compute. While of course, in some cases, not every device can run such big models, right? So yeah, you probably have your own private cloud or probably have your own local devices or whichever that that works on our case as well. And recently, we actually just announced our support for M-chip computations, which means that we're actually, for the large language models, we now can actually shard them into smaller slices so the end users' devices can actually still run them. Like by end device, by end user, I mean like consumer grade computers, which not necessarily everyone have it, but then it's definitely more accessible than NVIDIA A100s, things like that, right? Yes, so we're lowering down this accessibility, and then in order to facilitate the whole training, we need someone to check all the results and need someone to make sure that all the data submission is correct, right? So that's where blockchain plays in. So for every node who want to join the training, for every validator who want to stake into the training, they have to put down stake. It's a traditional POS mechanism. You have to put down and then to start the validation. So by validation is still the same concept by machine learning or AI validation, meaning that I took your model and then I took the validation data set, which is maybe just A has to become B or C has to become D, right? I'll put it through your model, whether it goes to the correct answer. If not, I'll just sum down. If yes, I'll sums up. And then there will be a group of them, sums up and down, and then to make sure that, okay, this is a genuine model that's being trained. It's not something fake. So group of them will do this like a decision console, and then a group of them will doing training like a training console. So basically two consoles, one's training, one's validating, one's training, one's validating, and they're all just governed by the blockchain.
Vibhuti, just before you move on to the next question, just something that came to my head. When you speak about federated learning and making it like increasing the participation, right, of people with like devices. Um, what has to be the like minimum requirements in terms of system that I need to own from an investment perspective? If like let's say somebody wants to join this training network today, what does that like dollar cost look like?
Yeah, I think for today, majority of our models are running like smaller parameter setting because we actually believe in the SLM in the future, like smaller language models. There are still large language models, or actually there are large language models in 2 years ago setting. It's just because the large language model are growing too crazy, right?
Yeah.
So it's still like 8 billion, 9 billion ish of the sizes. And then that's like that in our experience, it's or in our definition, it's suitable enough for home game grade computers like NVIDIA 4090s that you can just still very much efficiently run and then to join the training. So that's for NVIDIA, but now we have M-chip support, then it can slice down to even for the M-chip slides. Yeah, but then of course, if you're talking about models with 30 billion or plus, right? The efficiency also just the bottleneck is there for the computation. Then you will require all the trainers to have H100 at home, which I don't think it's.
Yeah. While researching, I came across some points around, what are the challenges to drawbacks of decentralized AI training, and one of them was like performance variations, which
Yeah,
is not all nodes in the network will have the same,
yeah.
infrastructure available, and so this might lead to like slow, inconsistent training, and so are there any guardrails against ensuring that there is some level of consistency in how models are trained across this decentralized
Yeah.
node network?
For us, it's actually the other way around. We don't guarantee anything. We actually create the competition because of the emission incentives, right? So people with higher compute, they can be sure to have more stable output of the training. Then, yeah, so the competition will actually just like Bitcoin, right? Because my block goes quick, so I always can get the stable result, and there will actually be more people staking on us, and there will be another trainer who join. Okay, similarly, and then the ones who actually running on a very disordered machines will eventually be kind of like slashed out or actually come with the less or no incentives by joining the training. So yeah. So for us, it's like we create this thing called AI Arena. The term arena is actually for people to have the competition, so we can bring at least using the competition to bring up the standard of people who can actually efficiently mine on Flock.
But aren't you then? I mean, isn't this? I mean, just playing the devil's advocate. Just want to make sure everybody gets this. Uh, the flip side of doing this is essentially power of who is capable enough of participating. Kind of is going into who has the most resources. We've seen this in Bitcoin as well, right? Where
Yeah,
there are a few companies which are dominating. The mining capacity that they have, and so their control over the entire chain. Same thing with the proof of stake as well. Like if I have more money, I can buy more tokens, I can stake more and have more control. How do you then ensure the core idea, which is okay, I want to
yeah.
balance decentralization with efficiency of the models that are trained? How do you
Yeah,
deal with
yeah.
this challenge?
That's thanks to AI itself, right? So for us, we
Mm,
are not just looking at the hash rate that you're having. So
mm,
with that competition, of course, the hash rate lower than 4090s, that's maybe harder for them to actually compete in a stable way, right? But then even if you have a H100 or actually B200 as of today, doesn't really means that you always get the highest computation or whatever. We don't compete people with who comes out of the result quick. We compete with whose result is more accurate, whose
mm,
result is better, right? So yes, people can game around in a huge compute on Flock, but then it doesn't really matter because it
mm,
only matters the bottom line, but it doesn't really matter the upper limit of the rewards and everything. So all the rewards and the validation is still validated by the validation network,
mm.
and yeah, basically that's our way of treating the whole mechanism between the two.
Interesting. Nice. Thank you. Mm.
And
Yes,
how
Aditi,
does
over to you.
Flock, yeah, how does Flock ensure there is no leakage of data leakage or misuse in this entire process?
Yeah, we basically don't touch data. I mean, we don't touch data out of the origin of the of their storage. So that's where we do it. But then, of course, there are so in the traditional federated learning ways, there are mechanisms already to prevent this from happening, right? So because your data never leave it, and then whenever you transmit, it's the change of the model weights that's being transmitted between different nodes. And even for that transmission of the nodes, we do what we call deep gradient compression, DGC, which means that even for that change of the gradient transmission, we compress them into 10% of their original size and then make the transmission. So there are two good things about this. First of all, anything compressed 10% out of it won't be able to uncompress back, because that's by informatics. That's how things works in the world, right? Secondly, it actually still aligns with machine learning converging, because there's naturally a thing called dropout in traditional machine learning, that people actually use this trick to prevent models from overfitting. And then compressing things to 10% is actually a type of 90% what we call 90% dropout. It actually can help the model to be more healthily converge into an optimal point instead of being overfitted. So yeah, so that's another beauty I like about AI. Actually, it's a cool thing to address here. Actually, Rohit also brought this up. So, the beauty of AI, or the AI model or AI model training, the mechanism behind AI training, works very well and very beautifully with blockchain, because it can be asynchronized. It's fine, right? I train my model steps, you train yours, because eventually we're gonna do the concat together, and then B, naturally we will do dropouts. So even if there are some data loss in a communication, it's fine. It's like in a single node AI is already fine. Then in a decentralized, it's still fine, because we actually want some randomness of the loss of the information in any transmission, because that can prevent the model to be just suddenly overfitted into one wrong place, right? And then thirdly, it's about the speed and the compress of the model that can actually happen in traditional AI already, and then it works very well in decentralized AI. So yeah, that's from a research background eyes. That's what I feel like wow, like that's also the reason why I do Flock. I feel like, wow, decentralized AI is basically a very doable thing, and it's not just a bluff. Maybe several years ago it is, but then now it's just becoming more reasonably into this whole puzzle of the DAI space.
Got it. So there is also there's a flock token in the play. So what is the role of flock token in the entire ecosystem, and
Yeah, that's
how it works? Like how is it is used to incentivize more participation?
Yeah, so the token itself is basically the native utilization of the whole governance I was just mentioning, right? People had to POS for training, for validation. So they are actually using those tokens to prove the honestiness of their training, of their validation results. And then there's a risk of them not getting any rewards for the time of the validation period if they are not sending out the correct answers or whatever. So that's the key use case of the token itself, and we're using this to distribute such incentives, and also can use that for the rewards distribution for people who are actually now using our models. So we have cases where we work with London hospitals, right? Two of them, and there's even some retail applications being developed out for our end users, and then some of those rewards will come back to the model creators who actually helped converge the model, right, together with our users. So
Yeah, you know,
and similarly for the AI agent world, right? Nowadays it's even easier, right? We train the model being
Yeah.
used by agent will send back not all, but a portion of those agent
mm,
tokens, maybe just to thankfully for the community who's actually building behind the whole algorithm. So yeah.
one question, Jiao, here, especially on the token, because I've seen a lot of projects. It, I mean, it's a great way of course, in your project, I see a very clear use case, like the utility around staking and then participating in this whole training process and then
Mhm.
incentivization. On the other side, you have, it creates certain pressures. Like we're looking at the whole narrative that's going around Ethereum, right? Just because the token isn't pumping, long term backers of the protocol, um, and for me, like Ethereum is actually such a transparent development process, because there I haven't seen like such transparent roadmap, 5 year planning, all of those things are happening on one side. And then there is this pressure that, hey, Solana is pumping. Why is your token not pumping? And so this kind of, do you think it turns the risk of turning the entire AI development process into like a speculative casino where token holders are trying to figure out, okay, how does this benefit me, and does this put any pressure on you as as the CEO, as the
Oh
captain of the
yeah,
ship?
yeah, for sure.
And
Like
how do you
once you
manage that? How do you like avoid this? Or you can't avoid this, but how do you
I can't
balance this
avoid.
out?
Yeah, no, I can't avoid. I have to face it. Yeah, like the first. Oh yeah. Now we're talking about token ish, right? So, uh, yeah, like the moment you enter into the mainnet with a live token, like you kind of like should be prepared for any of such criticisms from nowhere, and then doesn't really question your product or whatever because you're actually building it well, right? It's more about, oh, suddenly there's maybe a drop in the price, then everyone will just starting to be crazily panic or whatever, right? So yeah, it's quite a tricky month for us, like since we just a month known in the whole mainnet, right? But then I'm getting used to it. One thing I learned actually from now the secondary market is there are something what we can see as a consensus between all the miners of Flock and all the trainers of Flock. Like they know that how much they're costing for their compute, and then they know like how much they're getting as a reward into the mining, right? And they'll calculate, they'll know that, okay, there's a price that all the stakeholders of Flock should somehow keep or maintain, so that actually all the miners and miners, they are still benefiting from the results. And then that's maybe a good thing of it. So because of the utility usages, the token, and also because of the the advancements of technology and everything developments, that there's some sort of consensus in terms of the pricing itself. It's probably better than the memes where you can't really find a consensus of of a meme. But then for those utility tokens, yes, because you need to use it, and then that price has to come or somehow comes with a cost that that there's somewhere reasonably that you are actually still making the whole community benefiting from it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
but secondary market
it's
is it's
it's a
difficult. Like
tightrope to
nothing
walk,
that.
man. It's a tightrope to
Yeah.
walk, and I see that all the time because I work with like dozens and dozens of projects in crypto. I've seen a lot of them struggle on how to communicate, what's going on with their token. Some of them just give up, like, I don't know how to deal with
Yeah,
this.
like
Some of
it's,
them
there's
crumble under that
not
pressure.
everything. I mean, once it's in a secondary market, right? It's not in your control. It's basically a
Mm,
market practice, and then
yeah.
that market will have ups and downs. And I mean, if you can control it, then it's not it's not a market, right? It's a single machine game, right? Right?
True.
Yeah,
No, I don't want to make this token all about, degens and tokens. I want to get back to technology. So yes, Vibhuti,
yeah.
go on.
Yeah, so how do, yeah. So, so how does Flock plan to scale operations, particularly in terms of handling large data sets and complex models?
Oh yeah, you mean what the roadmap plans for the future, especially for data and ish.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
expand this, yeah, scale up, yeah.
Yeah, for us, it's we are more interested into the expand of business use cases. Like we now work very closely with banking, finance and healthcare, right? That's all because of our founder's background from here, and then we are trying to push it more to something like a more fan engagement type of industries, like entertainment, for example. Like why? Because I realized one thing, let's put aside the meme agent stuff. That's also still very engaging. But let's focus on this. Let's say traditional entertainment industry, right? Where they naturally need to have a fan engagement with their own fans, right? An idol with a fan or a band with a fan, right? So we're trying to tackling into this to train a model in a community way. So the model is actually trained by the fans. And then whenever, I don't know, the idol got an award or whatever, that reward can get distributed through Flock to those fans who actually created the model. So that's like what we call uh, 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 a positive flywheel of the ecosystem that people would
Mhm.
like to join and engage with the community. So yeah. So expanding the use cases is one of the very interesting angle that we're looking into. Get into more interesting spaces, like more retail focused spaces, like basically retail industry, right? Entertainment industry that can actually have this, uh, touch with end user. That's where the next big goal that we're going. Because if we're only just talking about healthcare, only just talking about finance, it's still very much restricted to the industry itself. And then when we talk about decentralized AI, we want actually the end users to join the game as well, right? We want them to participate. So not everyone has diabetes, not everyone has a financial product in a bank, right? But the wider community may be more on, let's say, entertainment, more on day-to-day works, more on things like AI companions or chatbots on those industries, right? So that will be our like plan to expand, to make it a less super industry focused, but more retail focused.
Are there like any apps which are currently in the works? Just like I want to explore more on the use cases side because um,
There are
all
some to come very soon. Yes, there are some
mm,
very interesting ones to come very soon, and
can
that's
you can
the
you drop
reason.
a sneak peek like what kind of
I
applications are we looking at?
not sure if I can reveal them now. Like it'll be very cool retail apps that people can use and
Am I
in
looking?
conversion.
Am I
Yeah.
looking at like these ChatGPT stylish application interfaces, or are we going to have like multimodal
There are,
solutions?
but then it's less fun. There are even fun, more fun applications that link in with the healthcare management, linking with the whole
Mm,
lifestyle stuff. Yeah. So
mm. Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Very,
So we
very
want to
cool.
connect more with traditional Web 2 because I think the reason why people share a lot about AI and crypto is this is probably a very niche chance for crypto to actually break into the traditional day-to-day life of human beings because AI is going to be used and widely used in every industry, right? And that's the a very rare case where maybe the users of an application can be both Web 2 and Web 3 because they
Mm,
don't care. They don't need to care about it. They're all just using one service from a retail app, right? And then they don't need to understand the mechanism behind is actually driven by utility token,
mm.
right? For them, it's actually usage by whatever in the nominated tokens are happening in that application. So
Yeah.
it's actually cool.
Yeah, I'm just also curious about it because Story Protocol just announced, they launched their
Yeah,
IP token. It was all the
yeah, yeah.
rage. And so one part of it is, creation of all of these assets, which they call IP. A lot of them are going to be, AI models and stuff like that as well. I know Sahara AI is also kind of building something similar. So when you look at the entire landscape of crypto AI right now, in terms of there are two parts to this question. One is each of them kind of have their own layer ones, like their own
Yeah, no, not us, not us,
network.
right?
You
Like
don't.
we,
Oh, Flock
I
doesn't
mean,
have. Mm.
yeah, we don't have our one yet. We are currently on base, and then we
Uh,
are very
uh,
very happy with all the
yeah.
ecosystem and the builders around the
Mm,
ecosystem,
mm.
and so
Do you
currently at
think?
this phase, yeah, we are
Do,
super
do
focused
you
on the
think?
applications.
Do you feel
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
there is value for Flock to kind of explore uh, in time forward, like kind of having their own,
Yeah,
own network?
possibly. Yeah, that's also in our decision roadmaps.
Mm,
Just just not something like in an urgent next, but
mm,
then definitely having your own chain, then you will have the design, the TPS, and everything that can match your the load of your network. Especially something like us, that's not just a token, right? It's all about the management of the own chain consensus. You have validators, you have trainers. They have to collaborate, and yeah. There's always benefit of having your own chain, but there's also cost
the
of
cost.
running your own chain, right?
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
balance between the two, I think that's the decision. And
yeah.
back to Rohit's question. Sorry.
No, no, just like wanted to make a point. Like I see like Eigenlayer as like this really cool, layer around. I don't know if you're aware about the whole AVSs that are being built, which essentially, restakes Ethereum, gives consensus layer is kind of expanded into other networks, and so
Mm,
DA layers are being built on top of it. Other blockchains rollups are being built on top of it, which I think is such a cool thing. I also feel like interoperability is a concern right now. And as more and more of these AI assets are created, the challenge that we are having with digital assets at present in terms of its fragmentation, um, of the liquidity of the community, I think these are also important things that uh, would need to be solved as if this kind of a decentralized AI setup has to kind of grow. Just
mm.
something that I think is important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. And well, I think you asked the question earlier, right, about the landscape of the AI crypto. Yeah, I don't know. Did you invite Sandeep to this as well? Like they have
Not
sentient.
yet. Sentient is
Yeah, they
going to
have
be here
Sentient as
soon.
well, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. They are doing big as well. And Sahara, as you mentioned, and IP tried something, tackling into the AI space as
Yeah.
well. And yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, the whole industry. I mean, from an AI background, people like whenever you're talking about the DAI or traditional AI, there's only three elements as most importantly, right? Compute, data, and model. And that's basically the whole thing behind all the AI development or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then upon this, there's agents, right? But then, well, that's another level of a discussion. I mean, agents can be, just I mean, there are more people who can talk agent than I do because I'm totally, I'm not DJ enough to talk about that. Like, but for the technical side, yeah, the triangle is basically the model, data, and the compute, and we see lots of compute providers even from several cycles back,
Yeah.
right? Like a cache, like they're doing quite well. Like they're
Yeah.
still building it today. I mean, I have full respect for all these long term builders who for the whole year they contribute and then they build and then they have the vision of sharing the compute power across the network. And yeah, so several years ago you might feel this is impossible, but then now it's getting even like getting closer to the ideal stage, right?
Mm.
Just like 2 years ago, I also wouldn't believe like decentralized training can happen, because I know that there are bottlenecks about transmission of the large language model, everything, right? It's just the efficiency is just crazy. The inefficiency is just crazy, right? But then now, like we see lots of interesting innovations happening in the space, and you can shard the model, make it small. You can compress the model, make it even smaller, and then you can spread across the network so that only the head and tail can be revealed, and then the middle layer of all the training, it can just happen in a like an encrypted way, and that's DAI, beautifully DAI, right?
Wow.
So
Beautifully
yeah,
defined.
yeah. Like it's happening, and then in the future it will
Mm.
be happening even crazily because maybe your phone have equal power of a 4090 of today. Then whatever happening on 4090s today that can run on the go with your phone and whatever, right? So it's happening. So that's what makes me super excited because I see the tech advancements happening and also the hardware increasing, right? The other part of the triangle data, and we also seen lots of data layers, from several cycles back. Of course, right, the OGs like Ocean Protocol, or like many of them, right? It's always needed, like in any industry, even if it's not LLM, right? Even if it's
Mm.
just for statistical models, like we need data layer anyways. So yeah, it's always it's an like always ongoing business. Just how their technology advancement can help people address their privacy concerns, making it more permissionless, right? Making it more safe for my private data. So yeah, lots of players now like here, right? I don't
Yeah.
even need to name them. It's like tons of them. So
Like just one more question that just came to my head around data. Like a lot of, I mean, big companies like OpenAI, they pretty much scrape the entire internet, right? On the other side, Meta has
yeah,
access to all of our
yeah.
social media data. So that's one. That all of that data is not being used. I was also listening to, one of the founders in I forgot which one, but he was talking about how we've run out of data. So now we have to come up with synthetic data to start training
Oh
models.
yes, that's
Uh,
true. That's a it's a
can
very I
hmm,
have a very bad statement about this
hmm,
actually, like the end. I mean the basically the age of human data died in 2017 because
hmm,
after that, and that's the time when GPT-1 came out, and after that the internet is just coming up with more synthetic data, and then reinforce it with even more when the next generation of GPT came in, and then
hmm,
next generation, because they need more data to train, but there's not enough data to grow by human purely, right? So there will be like, lots of synthetic data being distributed into the network, and there are actually some very dark-hearted people in the network right now. They just think create some fake news or whatever to pump into the whole industry. Sorry, pump into the whole internet, right? There are people on Reddit just pushing alternative realities into the news channels, like the 47th president of the United States is someone else. It's Elon Musk maybe, and then they'll create a lot of stories around that, and then to make it a solid founded news. And then one day when a new AI came in and to train the model, they see the news source, oh yeah, it's so solid, we took it into consideration, then oh, that becomes Elon Musk. So
and now I'm prompting and it is telling me like the 47th president is Elon Musk.
yeah, so yeah, the world is now basically being pumped with so many unreal data. So it's good in one way, like larger models can be trained perfectly using all this data quantity, right? But bad thing is, if there are some bias already happening in the human society, then those ones will be amplified. Because when when AI models um, synthesizing data, right, they are still following the what we call the probabilistic distribution of the real data. So if there are biases, the biases will just be amplified.
But don't you think like this is also true for decentralized AI? I mean, if one of the node providers, I don't know, supplies poison data, or he knows that this is not true, and it gives that information, generates the model updates, and tries to propagate it to the entire network. How do you like? Is this a problem only on the centralized AI side of it, or is this
But
something which
both,
is true
both,
for the
yeah,
entire
yeah.
network?
It happens both, and then that's why for us we have the validation network. So every submission of the model change that we have to go through the validation. Similarly, I think for
Do you think this
centralized,
validation, I'm sorry to cut you, Gio, but is
no
this
worries.
validation like 99.99% secure that, okay, this everything is correct? To have that kind of guarantee from this validation system?
Yeah,
Also, like we
yeah,
have similar validators in centralized AI data training as well. Like they vet the data, right? Like
yeah.
so that to prevent what you talked about hallucinations.
Yeah, hallucinations, and they hire human beings,
Mm,
right? A group of
Yeah.
them sitting somewhere just looking at the results. Similarly, yes, so
mm,
all this will be needed at least at this stage. I don't know whether in the future maybe the whole AI can just self-govern themselves, but then at, but at least for now, if there's no proper evaluation process for any model to be built, then the hallucination and the virus or bias of the model can just go
mm,
crazy. Yeah.
mm. Oh, okay, now the last question in this section, and then we'll move into some spicy hot takes.
Yeah.
Um, and if you today had unlimited resources, right, what would
Mhm.
be your ultimate goal with Flock, and where would you commit? Like, I mean, okay, I have every resource at my disposal, and this is one problem that I'm going to solve with Flock, uh, which is worth giving your
Yeah.
time, attention, and energy to.
I would say if I do, right, I'll just give that computer sources to everyone in the world and then ask them to join Flock Network. So that'll be the optimal
Good
case
answer.
for the, yeah, right? That'll be the optimal case for the network to be super, super secure because you actually have everyone in the world have a say on the model and how the model can grow. That's the best way of DAI. That's the reason why people do DAI because they don't want just the model valuation or the whole process being controlled by a group of people because they don't even know them, right? Who are they? Why are they deciding my model's I don't know, ideology or response, right? Based on what thinking or what schools of thinking into the I don't know philosophy, right? Yeah.
But isn't this idea flawed? Like you just mentioned that people can poison this data, right? So if you'll give this data, if you give this access to this, like they can to everyone, and there are all kinds of people in the world, then they can also
There are
like
all
poison
kinds of
you.
people in the world, but still majority. I mean, if we believe in the democratization of the human beings, right? So majority can still vote them down, right? Unless the whole world majority is already dark, which I hope is not the case. But
And
yeah.
I feel like that, which is why blockchains are so good for something like this. Because Vibhuti, if you look at the experiment that is being done over the last decade almost, right? It's you have the incentives and disincentives both in place that a blockchain system enables to like behave honestly. Otherwise,
Yep.
your
Plus, there is
stake
a
is
moat
slashed.
as there. Here is a moat as well that you have to learn this technology to like learn few things, right? To
I
actually
mean,
get
no.
to.
I mean, assume you do learn. You still need
Okay.
some kind of disincentive to stop bad behavior from happening. And I think this kind of like decentralized setup with the economic crypto economic incentives that exist is an interesting way to like
Mm,
manage this risk.
right. All right.
Anywho,
Moving on to
yeah.
the next section, next segment, which we are introducing for the first time in this podcast. which is a spicy take question. In this segment, we're going to ask some spicy questions to Jiahao and let's see what he answers. All right, number one
Yeah, sure.
question. Some argue that decentralized AI could worsen data bias because diverse, uncurated data sets might amplify existing societal biases. Do you agree? And how does Flock tackle this?
Yeah. Well, yes, of course. If you leave the data, unprocessed and then just process whatever you have, then there'll be an issue of it. So that's why you need to have a validation network like we do, right? To make sure the model generated is actually, still focusing or driving into the correct direction of the answer, let's say. Yeah.
Perfect. Next question. Decentralized AI promises to keep data local for privacy. But how do you ensure that contributors to Flock's ecosystem aren't inadvertently exploited, especially if their data ends up benefiting large players in the network?
Oh, right. So on that, we actually have our own verification algorithms to make sure that, people who, for example, who just want to steal rewards from the other node, right? They just copy pasting or adding a simple layer of the randomness to the data, but still the data, distribution is the same, right? So for all these cases, in the eye, that's also another good thing about AI. In the eye of the AI model, well, sorry, in the eye of the AI model aggregation, then those two data sets will have much similar aggregation, and then they actually will not, and the copier will actually not get incentives a lot because of this, because of the design of how our value distribution works. So it's actually, we actually considered this in our first paper. So
Oh,
it's a
interesting.
very classic way of people trying to, copy pasting or just trying to hack into the data incentives. Yeah.
Third question. If a node in Flock's network contributes sensitive data but later wants to revoke access, how does Flock handles this? And do you think current blockchain tech is even equipped to address such ethical dilemmas?
Beautiful. So yes, so for Flock, of course, like all the data storage in your own hands. So it's nothing to do with us. So if you want to revoke access, it's revoked already. It's all on yours. But then I think for the general AI industry, right? It can be a topic that can be big because, for example, if you send your data over to ChatGPT, say, okay, I'm trying to fine tune a model that for myself that can work, right? And then some days later, you want to remove those data, you can technically contact them, but then you wouldn't know whether those data are already being trained onto other models or other AIs already, which which will make it hard to trace back in the in the brain of an AI. So it can be an issue, especially in centralized AIs, because even if you ask them to give your data back or delete your data, they probably have already been used your data on many other things.
Interesting. Okay, one question from me, Jiao. Um, now, I think I asked you this before, so I'm going to skip this one. But another one for you, in we're looking at blockchain as a solution for decentralization in AI. But is it at all possible that it could actually, worsen AI security risks in the sense that let's take model poisoning as an example. Like if there is a malicious node, it might be harder to detect in a distributed system. Is this what is your take on this?
No, it's actually the same because even if it's a distributed system, the steps of the aggregation is follow the same rule as the centralized AI model. I don't see any differences between a decentralized system or a centralized system in terms of how the model grow, how the model evolve, right? The only difference is just about how the connectivity efficiency of the distributed system are compared to a centralized system. So for us, it's actually all the same. So there won't be anything worse in a decentralized world.
Hmm.
It's just the timing, asynchronization, all those things.
Hmm. And another question is, do you feel like token incentives could lead to some ethical nightmares, especially around incentivizing like low quality fake data with rewards?
Yeah, but
Do
then if they're pumping fake data or low quality data, they are not getting any rewards back. So it's still like it's that's actually the upside of having an incentive. If you don't have that,
great.
if you open up like a open project for people to donate data for free, then there'll be just some boring people. I don't know why, dark-hearted people, just like those who created 47th
Hmm.
president, right? They're pumping the fake data into it. It's right.
Yeah.
But then for the incentive based, then this actually better because that the fake data wouldn't actually get anything. And instead, your token will possibly being slashed. Then if all your tokens being slashed, it comes with a financial cost for people to being evil. So I think that's also another big um upside of the blockchain technology, right? So like in blockchain, right, you can be an intruder. You can try to be someone to spread or to broadcast wrong information, wrong blocks, but then that comes with a financial cost.
Hmm. Hmm. And last question in this section before we move to rapid fire, and this is more around what's the one thing in the whole crypto AI category space that you think everyone in the market is like wrong about?
Oh, uh, wow. Okay. One thing in a space everyone's wrong about. I think now the market has been educated quite well. Like the contents I saw online, they are quite reasonable now.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've seen some interesting conversations before, which I think is totally a joke, but then they changed as well. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, like people shooting about different tech stacks, for large language model, even for graph neural networks to happen in Web3, which something Web2 already abandoned.
Hmm.
Those ones I would say like it's totally a joke, but
Hmm.
but now I think all the market has been educated. They know that something's doable, something's
Hmm.
not. That
Hmm.
like even because of the advancement of the tech in the recent 2 years, right? As I mentioned, 2 years ago, I might think decentralized training from scratch might be a joke, but then yeah, now we're seeing lots of the possibilities. Even ourselves released the new versions of everything, right? So it actually can work now. So something that doesn't work several years ago might change in a year or two time because this industry just goes so fast.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And one more question, Vibhuti, before we move to the next section. Gio, how do you look at when we look at all of these like models that will be built on top of by training, doing this decentralized AI training? Do you see a scenario where you will have a product that emerges which will be able to compete at scale, at an industrial scale, with companies like OpenAI, and on the other side you have China coming up with their own AI stuff, AI models. So what's your take on this?
Yeah. The beauty of this is open source, right? So
Mm,
we have great open source ones like
yeah,
Llama, like DeepSeek itself, right? Even if
yeah.
they're already competing with GPT-4o, but they're still
Mm,
in open source setting. So many of such happening. That's a great thing to the whole economy. And decentralized AI will come up in specific ways, especially for our case, especially for specific business use cases, right? Where like in hospital or like in trading desks where naturally by regulation you can't just send any data over to a centralized AI world. Then you have to train it in a decentralized way and keep the data local, keep the model local even, right? So those are the places where decentralized AI can win and they can actually dominate the market because that's a way how a specific model can be trained, in a specific domain. That's like niche models, right? Niche models into long tail demands. So you wouldn't expect. Oh, okay. Let me put it this way. Yeah, long tail demands is a good example about it.
mm,
So for niche market, there will always be demands in long tail, right? Of course, maybe for McDonald's, if they want to build a model in their own domain setting, Google might consider it because the demand is huge enough. But then when it comes to long tail, let's say every corner shop in London, they want to have their own AI model to help them to do the cashier or whatever, right? I mean, Google wouldn't take care of every corner shops because the demand to them is like too small that they can't just do them one by one because of this niche usages.
Yeah.
But then decentralized AI can do because it's well distributed. That's
Fantastic note to now move on to the next section. Over to you, Vibhuti.
Yeah, so this is the last segment, which is rapid fire round. We're gonna ask questions like, and you just have to answer in one word, which is true or false. All right.
Okay. Oh, it's good.
Are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Let's go.
Okay. First question. Decentralized AI training, like that offered by Flock, guarantees anonymity for data contributors since data never leaves their device.
Yes.
Yes, all right. Next question. Flock's use of blockchain means that once a model is trained, it can never be updated or corrected for biases.
Yeah.
True or
Cool.
false?
Oh, true. Yeah, true. Yes.
It's true?
No, sorry. You cannot be used for biases, right?
Yes.
It can never be updated or corrected for biases. It's I'll repeat my question. Flock's
yeah,
use
sure.
of blockchain means that once a model is trained, it can never be updated or corrected for biases.
Oh no! So sorry,
False.
sorry. I didn't understand the question, but yeah, no.
You gotta pay
No.
attention, bro.
Yeah.
Third question. The more nodes participating in Flock's network, the slower the AI training process will be due to coordination issues.
No, false.
With Flock, anyone can train an AI model without any programming knowledge because the platform takes care of everything.
Yeah, true.
In Flock's
Fantastic.
ecosystem, the Flock token is only used for rewarding data contributors, not for governance or other platform
False.
functionalities.
No, false.
Flock can train any type of AI model from simple to the most complex neural networks with equal efficiency.
Yeah.
Yep. Decentralized AI platforms like Flock are inherently less vulnerable to data breaches than centralized ones.
Less vulnerable. Yeah, like less vulnerable. Yes. Tricky questions with word tweaks.
Decentralized AI platforms, oh, sorry, this I already asked. Using Flock means you are completely off the grid and not beholden to any central authority or regulation.
Yeah.
It's true or
Yeah.
wrong?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like off grid, as a way, I mean, the model's being built by a committee, and the data is, held by every individual. So if you say that it's off grid, yeah, it's kind of off grid. Yeah, because we don't control how the model's being built, right?
Yeah. The primary benefit of using Flock for AI training is cost reduction, as it leverages unused computing power from devices worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flock's approach to AI training significantly reduces the need for high-powered servers, making it environmentally friendly.
Oh, sorry. What's the question?
Flock's approach to AI training significantly reduces the need for high-powered servers, making it environmentally friendly.
Okay. Yeah, I want to say yes, but then this is a yet to discussion, actually, a big discussion, between two worlds right now, right? Whether a centralized data consumption is actually more efficient comparing to a decentralized data consumption. If you think about, I'm just being honest, because this is also a question in my mind as well, right? Because if you have a good network of all these contributors, right, they all have their own home consumptions. Nobody has ever calculated adding them all together, whether that can compete with the centralized way of efficiency, because the uptime of those model training can be a bit longer comparing to the centralized ones, right? So there might be differences. The reason that why now people hadn't have the chance to do the comparison is because not everyone have an A100 at home. So, so you cannot actually do the comparison right now. So as of today, the answer to that question is yes, because all the models that we train is small sized enough or is efficient enough to be distributed into the whole network. So they can converge very quickly, consuming less power possible. But then when it comes to huge models, that we really don't know. Right, there's need to be a comparison between the two, and when that happens, maybe the connectivity between between the power wires between two different nodes might also change, and the efficiency might also change. You just don't know at this stage.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jiao, for being so honest and transparent and detailed about explaining everything around what's going on in the decentralized AI training, model creation world, and with Flock. We now bring this podcast to a close, and I want to do two things. One, leave the floor to you if you have anything else that you would want to add, anything that we didn't ask you or cover, which is important for the people to know about Flock or about decentralized AI training. And then, on that note, what are some good resources where people can go to learn more about Flock? Engage with you or your team and participate in this network, providing data. Joining in this compute network, providing their resources or participating to train data in a decentralized setup.
Yeah. I think everything actually, we put everything into just one place in the Flock.io, our website. You can find our social media, X, and blogs, everything's there, and to learn and to read our papers if you're interested. Those ones being posted, published into the top venues in the academia world, right? So yes, basically everything's there. And then if you want to participate into Flocks, all the instructions are there as well. You can just join, staking and join the training, right? So I can see how this interesting DAI advancements actually going. Yeah, I still have the face on this, and then I think, for the whole DAI world, I think, we will see lots of new technology breakthroughs in the next phase of the years. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Jiao. It was wonderful having you on the show today. I personally learned a lot about the space.
Me
and,
too.
I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much, Jiahao, for
Thank you,
joining us.
Lee. Yeah, thank you both for having me. And thank you. Let's keep connect.